Good morning, guys. So in the previous classes, we are trying to understand what is consumer application and how to develop consumer. Okay, so any application which is accessing other applications is called as a consumer application. So we already understood how to develop a provider, and we also developed a consumer also. The application which is accessing other applications is called as consumer application. So in the Spring Boot, we can develop that consumer application in three ways, guys. One is by using REST template, second one is by using web client, and the third one is by using FIAN client. So we already implemented client with REST template. REST template is a predefined class that is going to support only synchronous communication. So synchronous communication means after sending the request, we need to wait for the response. So as an alternate for the REST template, in the Spring Boot currently, we are using a concept called web client. So what is this web client? This web client supports both synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication. This web client introduced in the Spring 5.x version. Okay, so it is introduced in the Spring 5.x version. It supports both synchronous and asynchronous communication. Then we have seen FIAN client also. When we are working with a microservices development, one microservice wants to communicate with the another microservice. In that scenario, we are going to use FIAN client. So FIAN client is basically used for inter-service communication. One microservice wants to communicate with the another microservice. In that scenario, we are going to use this FIAN client concept. Okay, so we have seen REST template in our classes. We have seen FIAN client also in our classes. So today we are going to work with the web client. Okay, how to develop a consumer application by using web client? Let us try to understand. Is this clear for everyone? What we are trying to develop now? We are going to understand how to develop a client by using web client. How to implement our consumer application by using web client concept. So what is web client? Web client is an interface. Web client is an interface that is introduced in the Spring 5.x version. Now, how to develop a client by using web client? So here if you see, I'm taking one dummy URL, guys. So here I'm taking one dummy URL. So this is a third-party REST API. When we access this REST API, we are getting ID, quote, and author. So we are getting the data from the third-party REST API. The third-party REST API, I want to access by using web client. Okay. So for that, we need to develop one consumer application. So let me create one new project here, which is start.spring.io. So Maven project with Java, Spring Boot 3.3.4 version is available. Group ID, I'm using in.ashokit. Artifact ID 03 Spring Boot web client application. Okay. And base package name also we are giving as in.ashokit. Okay. And I'm selecting package type as a jar, dependencies. So in order to develop our application, what are the dependencies are required? We are developing a consumer application. So for this, we need to add reactive web dependency. As of now, we use web dependency. When you want to use a REST template, then you will use web dependency. When you want to work with a web client, then you need to select the dependency as reactive web, which comes under Spring Web Flux, and it will provide Netty as a embedded container. And DevTools dependency also we can add. Okay, reactive web dependency I am selecting, DevTools dependency I am selecting, nothing else. I just want to develop consumer application. Now click on generate. So with this, our project will be downloaded in the form of one zip file. So let us extract that zip file and import that into our IntelliJ IDE. Go to downloads folder. So this is the project that we have created just now. Now let me extract this project, extract to this folder. Project is extracted. Open this one. Yes, so this is our project I created. Let me take this project, keep in our workspace folder. Okay, so this is our web client application. Let me import this application, file, open projects. This is our workspace. In the workspace, web client application I'm importing. Trust this project. In this window only, I'm importing that project. Fine, project is imported. It is going to download the dependencies that are required for our application. It is going to download the dependencies that are required for our application. So first time we created a project by using Webflux Starter. First time we created a project by using Webflux Starter. So it is going to download the required dependencies. So as of now, we used only this web starter. So first time we used Webflux Starter. So Maven project is available. Right click and reload that Maven project. So when you reload the Maven project, the dependencies which are not available in the local repository, Maven is going to download the dependencies which are not available in our local repository. Now you see, it is downloading Maven dependencies, downloading the dependencies related to the version. In the last week, we used Spring Boot 3.3.3 version, and today the 3.3.4 version came into picture, and the Webflux starter we added. Okay, fine. Application created. First, let me see whether this application is running as expected or not. Okay, whether this application is running as expected or not, and what is the default container we are getting for this application. When you use web starter, Apache Tomcat will come as a default container. When you use Webflux starter, Netty server will come as default container. So let us see this, how it is going to run this project. Application is getting started. Yes, application started. You can see the server which is started. What is the server it is starting internally, guys? What is the default container we are getting now? What is the default container we are getting now?
Netty.
Netty. So when you use web starter, then you will get Tomcat as a default container. When you use Webflux starter, we are getting Netty as a default container. That Netty server also running on the port number 8080. Okay, we are good. Application is getting ready. Application is starting. Now I want to develop the logic to send the request to third-party URL, which will give the response for us. So by using web client, already we sent the same request by using REST template, we are able to access. But how to send the HTTP request to this URL by using web client? Okay, so what is this web client? What is this web client? It is an interface which is part of Spring Webflux starter. What is this, guys? It is predefined interface. It is predefined interface which is part of Spring Webflux starter. So when you are creating a project, you need to select reactive web dependency. Then it will provide this Webflux starter. In that Webflux, that web client is available. Using this web client interface, we can send HTTP requests to server or to provider applications. Okay, by using this web client interface, we can send HTTP requests to the provider applications. Web client supports both synchronous and asynchronous communications. When you go for REST template will support only for the synchronous communication. REST template will support only for the synchronous communication, whereas web client will support for both synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between synchronous communication and asynchronous communication?
No waiting, sir. No waiting in case of asynchronous.
What is the difference between synchronous communication and asynchronous communication?
We will send the request for the producer, and we will wait up to the response coming to our application. That is synchronous.
Yes, synchronous communication means after sending a request, if you are waiting for the response, then it is called synchronous communication. Asynchronous communication, nothing but after sending the request, we no need to wait for the response. That is called asynchronous communication. Now, how we are going to work with this web client? How to send a request by using web client? Let's understand here, guys. First, web client is an interface. We cannot create the object directly. So that's why what we can do is in the web client interface, there is a abstract method or factory method is available, which is called create. Web client.create method is available, which is going to give you the web client object. So when you call web client.create method, it will provide the implementation class of the web client interface. You no need to create the object for the web client manually. When you use web client.create method, it is a factory method which will return the implementation object for the web client interface. Once you got the web client interface, now you can send the request to the provider by using this web client object. So what request you want to send? I want to send get request. Web client dot get. What is this? Web client dot get. So get means get request. If you want to send a post request, then you are going to call post method. So in the REST template, get for entity, post for entity available. Similarly in the web client, in order to send a get request, a get method is available. Okay, dot get, web client dot get. So what is the URL of the provider? Using method chaining dot URI. Using the method chaining, we are going to call dot URI method. So here we are going to specify our provider URL, a provider endpoint URL, API URL we are going to specify. By using this web client, to which provider you want to send a get request. Web client.get.uri, this is my provider URL. Once we send the request, we will get the response from the provider, right? Now, let us receive that response by using retrieve method. By using retrieve method, we are going to read the data from the response body. After reading the data from the response body, where do you want to store that data? For that, we need to use a method called body to mono. We are using a method called body to mono method, and we are going to specify string dot class. Body to mono string dot class. So when I specify body to mono string dot class, that means by using this web client, I want to send a get request to this URL, and I want to retrieve the response from the response body, and I want to map that response to the string variable. Body to mono is a method which is used to map the received response to particular object. So I am going to get the JSON data from the provider. Whatever the JSON data I am getting from the provider, I want to map that JSON data to the string variable. Suppose if you are having a Java object to hold that JSON data, suppose a quote object is available, then you can specify quote.class. So here we are using body to mono, and here there are two varieties available, guys, when we are working with the web client. One is body to mono is available. Body to mono is available. Another one is body to flux is available. What is the difference between body to mono and body to flux? So when you are getting response, okay, so it is single response in one shot. I sent a request, I'm getting the response. That's it. Kam khatam. I sent a request to the server and I got the response from the server as a single object. So as single data. If you get the data in one shot, then it is called as body to mono. When to go for body to flux? When we send a request to the third party API sending stream of response. That means response will not come in one time. Response will come for every 1 minute. Response can come for every 1 second. So it is giving one record. Then after some time giving one more record. After some time giving one more record. Continuously, if the response is coming, it is something like cricket score. So when you send the request to that, for every 1 second, for every 1 minute, the score will be updated. And if you see stock market, so how the stock market will work? Every second the stock market rates are going to change. So when I send a request to the API, if the API is sending continuously responses to me, to hold that stream of responses, we are going to use body to flux concept. But currently our API, what it is doing, I'm sending a request. When I send a request, am I getting the response continuously or I'm getting the response only one time? Whatever the provider I am accessing, the provider sending continuous responses to me, the provider sending continuous responses to me, or the provider is sending only one response to me, guys?
Only one response.
Only one response. The provider is sending only one response to me. So that one response, that do I need to use body to mono or I need to use body to flux concept?
Body to mono.
mono, sir.
Do I need to use body to mono or body to flux concept?
Body to mono, sir.
Body to mono. Why we need to go for body to mono?
Response
It is a single response.
Yes, whenever we are sending a request to the provider is giving a single response for us. So when we get a single response from the provider, then we need to use body to mono. What is the purpose of this body to mono? Whatever the response is coming from the provider, that response is a single response. That response I want to store into one object. Whatever the response I'm getting, that response is a single response. It can be a text data, or it can be JSON data, or it can be XML data. That data I want to store into our object, or I want to store into our variable. Then you can go for body to mono. Then what is body to flex? Can you guys tell me what is the difference between body to mono and body to flux? When you are developing a client by using web client, then you need to understand these two concepts. When to use body to mono and when to use body to flux. Okay, so body to mono, that means returns single value. It returns single value, Now body to flux nothing but returns stream of values. Return single value and return stream of values. So multiple records if you are getting, and not in one time, and those records also coming frequently. First one record, after 10 seconds one more record, after 10 seconds one more record, like this stream of responses are coming. If a stream of responses are coming, then we need to use body to flux concept. But in our scenario, our provider is sending single response. So that's why I'm going to use a concept called body to mono concept. Now, so web client object, web client is an interface which is part of WebFlux starter. We can also call it as a reactive web. When we are developing our application, we need to select the dependency as a reactive web. So using that, we can send HTTP request to the server. So web client supports both synchronous and asynchronous communications. Web client.create. So which is going to create a web client object. That means we are not creating object for the interface. So whenever you call the create method, it will provide you implementation class object of that interface. So by using that reference, we can send the HTTP request to third-party API. By using that reference, we can send HTTP request to third-party API. What type of request you want to send? I want to send a GET request, web client.get method. To whom you want to send the request? .URI. So this is my provider URL. To this URL, I want to send the request. Then .retrieve. What is the meaning of retrieve? After sending the get request to this URL, provider will give me some response. Let us take that response by using retrieve method. After retrieving that response, that is a raw response. It may be JSON, it may be XML, it may be text data. Then how you will store that data? So is that single response you are getting, or you are getting stream of values? If you get a single response, then you use a method called body to mono. Quote.class. Quote is a binding class. Whatever the response coming from the third party API, store that into this object. Suppose if you don't have a binding object, whatever the response is coming, store that response into our string object, string variable. Store that into string variable. Are you able to follow me? Now, so when you get like this, so it is going to return mono of string. Mono of string. We are using body to mono, so it is going to return mono object for us. It is going to return mono object for us. From that mono object, we are going to call dot block method. From that mono object, we are going to call the dot block method, which is going to give you response for you. So whenever you call dot block method, that means we are making web client to wait for the response. Dot block means we are making a synchronous request and we are going to get the response. Whatever the response we are getting, let us print that response on the console or whatever you want to do. Just I will show you how to print that response on the console. How to print that response on the console. Are you guys able to understand this?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What is the meaning of mono.block?
Blocking the response, sir. Just like
Waiting for the response. What is the meaning of a block? Block means we want to wait for the response. We want to wait for the response. Now, let me create one class here, new. I'm creating a package in .ashokid.service package I'm creating. So in this package, I'm creating new Java class called some message service or whatever I say, code service I'm creating. So inside this code service, I want to write the logic to access that third party API. So let me represent this as a service class and let me write my provider URL, private static final string API URL. So this is my third party API URL. Let me access it. This is my third party API URL. Now, this API I want to access by sending a GET request. This API I want to access by sending a GET request. So let me write a method for that. Public void get code. Public void get code. So by using REST template, simply you can call REST. You can create the REST template object and you can call get for entity. But now I want to do it by using web client. So what we will do, web client dot create. So I'm calling create method. So you can check it. What is web client? Web client is a class or web client is an interface? Guys, web client is a class or web client is an interface?
It's interface.
Interface.
Web client is a interface. Okay, fine. So can we create object for the interface or we cannot create object for the interface?
We cannot create object.
Can we create object for the interface or we cannot create object for the interface? No, we cannot create the object for the interface. So then what we need to do? We need to create the object for implementation class. Okay, when you call create method, it will provide the object of web client implementation class. So I got the web client object. I want to send a GET request. So then what I will do? Web client dot get. What is the meaning of web client dot get? Send a GET request. To whom? dot URI. So what is our URI? That is API URL. We have declared the variable here. That variable is API URL. Web client dot get dot URI, which is API URL dot retrieve. So what is the meaning of dot retrieve? I want to retrieve the response. And where you want to map that response? Where do you want to store that response? For that, we will use body to mono. Here there are two options available. Body to mono available, body to flux available. So when to go for body to mono and when to go for body to flux? When to go for body to mono and when to go for body to flux, guys?
When we are getting a single response, we are opting the body to mono.
Yes. Whenever we send a request, if you are getting the single response, single value, then you can go as a mono. If you are getting stream response, then you can go for body to flux. Currently, body to mono. So where do you want to store that response? I want to store that response into one variable of string dot class. If you have a binding class, you can give binding class also. Then your data will be stored into binding object. Currently, I am giving string dot class. Now store into a variable, so which is giving the mono object. Body to mono, I'm calling, so the response whatever I'm getting, that I'm storing into mono of string. Then we are going to call mono dot block. What is the method I'm calling, guys? Mono dot block method I'm calling. So which is giving me the response, actual response. Mono dot block I am calling, so which is giving the response. Let me print that response now. System dot out dot println of response. So I'm printing that response on the console. Are you guys able to understand how we are developing a consumer by using web client? Guys, are you able to understand how we are developing the consumer by using web client?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let me test it. Is it working or not? So simply I will take the IOC object. I will get the code service object, run dot get bean of whatever code service is available, code service dot class that we are having. Manually I'm getting the object and I'm calling the method bean dot get code. So when I access this, when I start this application, it will be start from start class, which contains main method. Inside the main method, I'm starting my IOC container. Using IOC container, I'm getting my bean object. Inside the bean, I have get to quote method. So I'm calling the get quote method. That quote method internally, I have implemented this quote method. In this quote method, I'm using web client. 1 minute, guys. Yeah. Inside the get quote method, I created object for the web client by using create method. Then I'm calling web client.get .uri to which URL you want to send it and retrieve the response from the response body. Then body to mono, map that response to your variable. So then I'm calling mono.block method, so which will make our thread to wait for the response. After getting the response, then print that response on the console. All right, good. Let me start this application now. Application.java, run this. So we should be able to see the response in the console. Whatever the response giving by the third-party API, we should be able to see that response in the console. Are we able to see that response in the console now? Whatever the code that we are getting, are we able to print that code on the console? Come on, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, so we are receiving JSON response. That JSON response we are mapping to the string variable. So the direct JSON will be stored into mono object. Mono.block method we are calling, which is giving the direct response. Can I map this JSON response to Java object, guys? Can I map this JSON response to the Java object?
Yes, sir.
How to
Yes,
map
sir.
this JSON response to the Java object?
Object mapper, yeah.
We need to create one Java class to represent that data. Okay, so package in.ashokid.binding package I'm creating. In this binding package, I'm creating one Java class which is called quote. So now see what is the response from third-party API. ID is coming, quote is coming, and author is coming. Okay, ID, quote, and author. These are the data that we are getting. Now let me take the variables for that. Private, integer, ID, private string, quote, private string, author. ID, quote, and author. Yes, I have taken 3 variables. Let me write the setters and getters for this. Right click, source, generate setters and getters for all the 3 variables available. Okay, all the 3 variables available, we are able to implement setters and getters for these variables. Now, get quote. This is one method, guys. Get quote 1, something like this. Without disturbing this one, I'm going to write one more method where I will use body to mono with object. Get quote 1 I am writing and get quote 2 I am writing. So what is the difference between quote 1 method and quote 2? In the quote 1 method, we are using body to mono of a string dot class. Here I will use body to mono as quote dot class. Body to mono I will use quote dot class. Then quote response will come. I will print that quote response. Now you observe. What is the difference between these two methods. So in the first method, what is the body to mono I am representing, guys? In the first method, what is the body to mono we are representing?
String set string.
Body to mono, what is the body to mono type we are
String.
representing? We are representing this as string dot class. So what is the meaning of this body to mono string dot class? What is the meaning of body to mono string dot class?
Response is stored in string type.
Yes, whatever the response we are getting from the provider, that response you store into string object. That's direct raw response. But here, what is the body to mono I am specifying? Quote dot class. I am specifying quote dot class. So what is the meaning of quote dot class now? Whatever the JSON response coming from the provider, that JSON response you store into quote object. Do I need to convert the JSON to Java object manually, or my web client will take care of it?
Web client will take it.
Do I need to convert JSON to Java object manually, or my web client will take care of that?
Web client will do.
Web client will take care of that. So mono of quote object we are getting. Mono.block method I am calling. So can you tell me what is the meaning of a block method?
Holding the response.
Yes, it will wait for the response. It is going to wait for the response. After receiving the response from the third-party API, then only our logic will continue its execution. Then only our logic will continue its execution. Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now let me access this from here. Get to quote 1 is available, and here get to quote 2 is available. In between these two, let me write one simple line difference. System.out.println. System.out.println. That's it. Let me run the application. Both methods are sending the request to the same API. One method is receiving the direct response, storing into a string variable. Another method storing that response into Java object. That is the difference. See this one. Now, can you see? One is having JSON raw response is stored into string variable, and the second one, it is giving the object. To print the content of the object, let me override toString method, so that whatever the JSON is coming, that JSON data stored into our Java object. To print the content of the object, we are going to override toString method. So for this one, quote class, I'm writing toString method. Now let me start my application again. You can see the difference. Quote 1 method and quote 2 method. Both are sending the request to the same API. But in one method, body to mono, I am using string.class. In another method, I am using body to mono quote.class. Now you see here, raw response is printing as it is. Whatever the JSON is coming from the third party API, that JSON data printed as it is. But here, whatever the JSON data is coming, that JSON data is converted into our Java object. Whatever the JSON data is coming from the third party API, that JSON data is converted into our Java object. Are you clear with my point now? So currently, by using web client, we are sending synchronous request or we are sending asynchronous request, guys. By using web client, am I sending a synchronous request or am I sending a asynchronous request?
Both.
Synchronous.
Both are.
Synchronous only.
Synchronous only.
By using web client, am I sending a synchronous request now or am I sending a asynchronous request now?
Synchronous.
Synchronous, sir.
Come on, guys.
So as we are using block method, so it is synchronous, I guess.
Synchronous. Synchronous. So when you use the block method, that means it is synchronous. So what is the meaning of synchronous? What is the meaning of synchronous?
Wait for the response.
Should be wait.
After sending the request, we are calling the mono.block. So when you call mono.block, this is synchronous. Whenever you call the block method, then it is called as synchronous, guys. We need to wait for the response. We need to wait for the response. Are you able to follow me? After sending the request, we are calling block method. That means we need to wait for the response. We need to wait for the response. That means if a response comes from the REST API, then only that response will be printed. If the response is not coming from the REST API, suppose we did not get the response from the API, then line number 36 will execute or line number 36 will not execute. Come on, guys. When the line number 36 will execute now? When line number 36 will execute? Come on. When the line number 36 will execute?
After getting the response.
After getting the response. After getting the response from the API, then only our line number 36 is going to execute. Because here we are using web client.get method, we are using .uri, we are using .retrieve, body to mono, then we are using mono.block. Mono.block means we are blocking the thread and we are waiting for the response. After getting the response from the REST API, then only that response will be printed on the console. So if you do like this, that means you are sending a synchronous request by using web client object. You are sending a synchronous request by using web client object. Able to follow me? Are you able to follow me? You are sending a synchronous request by using web client object. You are sending a synchronous request by using web client object. Suppose after sending the request, I don't want to wait for the response. After sending the request, I don't want to wait for the response. Then what we need to do. Then we need to send asynchronous request to the REST API. We need to send asynchronous request to the REST API. How to send asynchronous request to the REST API? By using subscribe method. Instead of the block method, we are going to use subscribe method. So let me write this. Get to code 3. Let me write the get code 3. Code 3 method I am writing. Here, let me change the logic. Let me change the logic. Okay. So web client object I am creating. Just let me write system.out.println. System.out.println. Request sending start. Request sending start. I'm sending my request. How? By using web client dot get method I'm calling. Then dot URI we are going to use. For this we will specify our API URL. Then dot retrieve. Then body to mono. You can take it in the raw response or object also. Object is available already. Code.class I'm taking. Then after this, you don't call the block method. If you call the block method, you are making a synchronous call. That means you are sending a request and you are waiting for the response. Don't do that. So instead of this, you can write subscribe method. Instead of that, you can write a subscribe method. Sir, what is the benefit of using this subscribe method? So by using this subscribe method, we can send asynchronous request to the REST API. By using subscribe method, we can send asynchronous request to the REST API. So then here I will write system.out.println request sending completed. Okay. Request sending completed. Okay. So, but I'm not waiting for the response. Request sending started. Request sending completed. So I'm sending a request to the REST API. Here I'm calling subscribe method. So what is the meaning of this subscribe method? After getting the response from the REST API, then you print that response. After getting the response from the REST API, whatever the response you are getting from the REST API, then you print that response. You print that response. I'm just writing, you can handle, or else you can write handle response. Okay. For now, handling nothing but system.out.println, whatever the response is available, I'm printing that response on the console. If you want, you can do some operations also with the response, whatever you want to do. System.out.println, whatever the response is coming, I'm just taking that response and I am printing that response on the console. Okay. Now, first, this response will be printed or this sending completed message will be printed. If response is printed first, this is also synchronous. If this is printed first, this is asynchronous. So in which order? Total there are 3 statements. So total there are 3 statements. Request sending started. Okay. Printing the response on the console and printing request sending completed. Now can you guess in which order the 3 messages will be printed on the console? Guys, in which order those 3 messages will be printed on the console? In which order the 3 messages will be printed on the console? Can you
3,
guess
1,
it?
2.
In which order the messages will be printed? Can you guess it?
Sending started, sending completed, and response.
So if you print the messages, if you get the messages, request sending started, response printed, then sending completed, then what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? If you get in the same order, then it is asynchronous or it is asynchronous?
Synchronous communication.
It's a synchronous.
Synchronous. So what is our expectation? I need to send the request. After sending the request, I should not wait for the response. Whenever the response comes, I'm subscribing to that response. So whenever I send a request to the REST API, after some time, maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds or 10 seconds, after 10 seconds response will come. Whatever the response is coming, then print that response on the console, or you can insert that response into database. Whatever the logic you want, you can write that logic. You can handle that response, but my thread should not wait for the response. After sending the request immediately, I'm going to print request sending completed. After some time, response will come. Whenever the response comes, then I will print that response, or I will deal with the response. I can handle the response according to my requirement. Are you clear? Now, let me go here and let me call that method, which is get to code 3. Bean dot get to code 3. Get to code 3 method I'm using to send a asynchronous request to the provider by using subscribe method. Whenever you go for block method, this is synchronous. Whenever you go for subscribe method, that is asynchronous. Let us see the order of the response, in which order the response will be printed. Go to the start class and run this. Now guys, see in which order the messages are printed. Request started, request completed. So my thread, if you see my logic, is my logic waiting for the response, or my logic is not waiting for the response? This line is executing after receiving the response or before receiving the response, guys? If you see the order of execution, this line is executing after receiving the response or before receiving the response?
Before receiving the response.
Is it
Before
printing
receiving
after
the
receiving the response? Is it waiting to get the response, or without waiting this line also executed?
Without waiting, sir.
Without waiting
waiting,
for
sir.
response, it will execute it.
Without waiting for the response, this line got executed. So that means my thread is waiting for the response from the provider, or my thread is the thread which is executing my method. My thread is waiting for the response from the provider, or my thread is not waiting for the response from the provider? Not waiting. But in this scenario, what is happening here? When I use a block method, what is happening? It will wait for the response. After getting the response, then only it will be printed. Okay. But in this scenario, after sending the request, without waiting for the response, this line got executed. After executing this line, after 2 seconds or 3 seconds, we got the response. Then that response is also printed on the console. First, this statement is printed. Then immediately this statement is printed. It is not waiting for the response. This is the proof to say that we are able to send asynchronous request by using web client. Whatever the asynchronous request we are sending by using web client, that is not possible with the REST template. So when you go for REST template, you can send a request and you have to wait for the response. But when you go for web client you can use in 2 ways. You can use web client to send a synchronous request. You can use web client to send the asynchronous request also. Now let me run it again and let me show you the console. Application is getting started.
Sir, how to return the object instead of printing?
Now can you guys see this one? Server started. So what happened here, guys? Request sending started. Request sending completed. Then after some time we got the response. Then that response is printed on the console. So my thread is waiting for the response to print the last message. To print the last message, my thread is waiting for the response, or my thread is not waiting for the response?
Not waiting, sir. Not
My
waiting.
thread is waiting for the response, or my thread is not waiting for the response? Thread is not waiting for the response. So can I say this is the logic which is used to send asynchronous request. Can I say this is the logic which is used to send the asynchronous request? So
Yes, sir.
mainly that you need to understand two things. One is block method, another one is subscribe method. So what is the difference between block method and subscribe method? When
Block
to
method.
go for block method and when to go for subscribe method?
Block is synchronous.
Log will wait for the response, whereas subscribe will not wait for the response.
When to go for block method and when to go for subscribe method?
For synchronous, we are going for block. For asynchronous, we are going for
Yes.
subscribe.
When you want to send a request and when you want to access a provider and send a request for the provider and wait for the response from the provider. Send a request and wait for the response from the provider. Then you can use block method. Suppose I want to send a request to the provider and I will not wait. I want to continue my remaining logic. Whenever the response comes, then I will handle that response after some time. Then you can go for subscribe method. Are you guys able to understand what is web client and how we are implementing the logic by using web client? Web client is an interface which is part of web flux starter. So we can say officially it is a reactive web dependency. So in the Spring Boot, you can develop consumer application in three ways. One is by using REST template. Second one is by using web client. Third one is by using VM client. So when you go for REST template that supports only synchronous communication, it is part of web starter. So when you go for web client, that supports both synchronous communication and asynchronous communication, which is available in the Spring 5.x version. We have seen FIAN client also in the microservices. FIAN client is used for inter-service communication in the microservices. If one microservice wants to communicate with the another microservice, then we are going to use FIAN client concept. So what is web client? Web client is a predefined interface which is part of WebFlux starter. We can say it is a reactive web dependency. Using this web client interface, we can send HTTP request to provider applications. Web client is going to support both the synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication. So how to send a request by using web client? By using web client.create method, we are going to get the web client object. So once we got the web client object, then we are using web client.get method. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of web client.get method? Can you
To
tell me
make a get
what is the
request, sir.
meaning
To
of web client.get method?
make get request, sir.
I want to send a get request. What is the meaning of .uri? What is the meaning of .uri? Come on guys.
Provider URL.
To whom you want to send the request. And what is retrieve method? What is the dot retrieve method?
Response.
What is the
To
meaning of
retrieve the
dot?
response, sir. To retrieve the response.
To receive the HTTP response, to read the response from the response body. To read the response from the response body, we are using that. Okay. And the next one, what is the body to mono?
Single response.
Single response we are getting. Then we are calling retrieve method. We are calling the retrieve method, which is used to read the response, and we are calling body to mono. So to read the response into our string variable. Then we are calling mono.block. So what is the meaning of mono.block?
Waiting for the response.
We need to send a request and we want to wait for the response. I want to send a request and I want to wait for the response. Mono.block. I will wait for the response. After getting the response, then my remaining logic will be executed. Okay. Suppose I don't want to wait for the response. Then what method I will call? Subscribe method. So here after body to mono, I'm calling subscribe method. So this is going to take a consumer object. So whenever the response comes, then you print it. First, method started, web client object is created, request sending started, then request sent, subscribed for the response. Whenever the response comes, then the response will be printed. Then immediately after sending the request, without waiting, I will execute this statement, request sending completed. After that, response will come from the provider. Whenever the response comes, already I subscribed for that response will be printed on the console. So this is the example. This is the example for
the API. So
sorry.
they are doing performance testing, so the API.
So here I'm sending a request and I'm not waiting for the response. So this is the example for asynchronous communication. So if you want to send a synchronous request by using web client, you call the block method. If you want to send asynchronous request by using web client, then you call the subscribe method. Are you able to understand how to develop synchronous client and how to develop asynchronous client now?
Yes. So how to return the object, sir, instead of printing? In the subscribe, we are printing the response, right? How to return the object as part of this method response? How to return?
You can't return, sir. You can't return the object, sir. Subscribe method will take a consumer, na? So consumer will receive the input, and that input you need to handle. You can store that into database, or you can print in the log, whatever you want, you can do that. You can write one method separately. That method also you can call. Okay, suppose, for example, I want to handle that response separately. Public void handle response. So what is the response we are getting? Quote object as a response we are getting. So instead of printing there, you can print that response here also. Okay, this is a handle response method I can call by passing that response object. Whatever the logic that you want to execute, you can write that inside your method. You got my point?
Yes, sir. So here, suppose if I am firing the get request, returning a list of objects to the client, how to send it?
Sir, this is how you want to send the response to the client. You got the response object to this method. From this method, you can send it to the client. So from this method directly, you can't send it. From this method, you can't send directly. Or if you want to send from this method directly, so here you need to return that object. You need to wait for the response. Na? So that's why. So we don't send it to the client directly. We will process that by using a separate method. From that method, we will return that. If you want to send it to the client, you need to get the response. You need to go for synchronous request only. After getting the response, then only you can return to the client. So this is a background process. I don't want to send this response to the client. After client sending the request, I will send a success message. Your request is processed. Then in the background, the response will come. Then we will print that response or we insert in the database, whatever the operation we have, we can do that. If you want to send same the code response to the client, then you need to implement a synchronous client only, not asynchronous client, because client will be waiting for the response. After getting the response, you return the response to the client. If whatever the requirement you told, for that you need to go for synchronous client. Are you clear with my point?
Got it,
Sir, if we don't specify any block or synchronous, subscribe, and we are directly sending the mono object, means returning mono object, what kind of communication it will be, synchronous or asynchronous?
I did not get your question, Yamuna.
If we don't specify mono.block or subscribe and we are returning directly mono object,
That whatever the data is there in the mono string value, string will go as a response. You can return directly mono object also from this method.
then it will be synchronous or asynchronous communication?
Synchronous only, because you are calling mono object we are returning, somewhere that mono.block will be called. It will become synchronous only.
Okay.
Whenever you call subscribe, then only it will be asynchronous. Otherwise, it will by default synchronous only.
Okay. Sir, if we want to send any headers, like in Postman, we are sending like
Here
acceptor.
.URI is available na. Here you can specify headers also. Accept method is available. So which is used to send the accept header. So what is the accept header that you want to send? Suppose application/JSON. I want to accept only JSON data. Like this you can pass that we can call the accept method. Similarly, there is a method called content type method is available. Dot add header method is also available. Dot header key comma value. You can call dot header method directly. In this header method, what is the header that you want to send? You can specify. You accept header, and what do you want to accept? Application/JSON I want to accept. Like this, in the request
Then
you can send the header also.
REST templates, you can
There,
send the header.
HTTP header. In the REST template also you can send the header. In the web client also you can send the header. So if you want to send the header in the web client, just you need to call dot header method.
Okay.
So, sir, in case of list, we have to use the flexor mono, sir. Suppose
Sorry?
if you get like,
Can
if you
you
get like a list, yes, sir, list of responses,
Sir,
list
list
of
of
tickets.
responses, that is different, sir. List of objects you are getting in the single shot. Then suppose, for example, we are having tickets API. In our REST API, tickets is available. How many tickets
Yes,
you
sir.
are getting?
4 to 5 tickets. How many? Any number of tickets?
All the tickets you are getting in one shot, or you are getting ticket one by one?
All the tickets we are getting one time, sir, at one time.
That is
only, no?
mono.
Okay,
I will
sir.
show you the flex example.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Whatever the REST API we developed, that REST API providing the response in one shot.
Okay, sir.
Whether
Okay,
you are
sir.
getting tickets, multiple tickets are available. All the tickets you are getting in one shot. So that means it is a mono object only.
Okay, sir. But if you're getting one by one means, flex we have to use.
Yes, I will explain you one example with the flux response.
Okay, sir.
Sir, as we understood that in subscribe method, thread is not waiting and moving to the next line.
Correct.
So if the thread moves to the next line, does it comes back and the subscribe method and prints the line?
Sir, internally, whenever you call the subscribe, it will not come back. Subscribe means it is a thread. We are registering the thread. Okay, whenever response comes, it is something like event-driven execution, sir. This is called event-driven programming. So whenever you call subscribe method handle response, we are registering an event for the web client and we are continuing our execution. Whenever the response comes to the web client will call this method. It's not like program will go forward and will come backward. No. So this is event-driven programming. Whenever the response comes, this method will be called. So the event will be registered in the web client memory. Web client will understand that. So this person is calling a subscribe method. Whenever I get the response from the provider, I should execute this method. That memory will be there for the web client.
Okay.
It will not go backward.
Okay, understood.
Same thread is registered, sir. Same thread is registered there only, sir.
Yes, same thread, whatever the thread which is executing our method, that thread will notify, boss, you go and send the request. You don't wait, you continue. Whenever response comes, then you call the method. You execute the subscribe logic. You can directly print it or you can call another method, whatever you want, you can do it. That means, so you have a business requirement. Once you got the response, what you want to do? Do you want to store the response into Kafka? Or do you want to store the response into Redis server? Or you want to store the response into database? Or you want to do some calculations on the response? Or you want to do some analysis on the response? That you can do according to your business requirement. So the concept is asynchronous request. After sending the request, are we waiting or without waiting we are able to continue? Without waiting we are able to continue. That is the proof this line is printed before printing the response. That means asynchronous logic is working. Sir, what we will do with the response? That is your project requirement. Some people will store the response into Kafka server. Some people will store the response into database. Some people will store the response into Redis. So they can do according to project requirement. Suppose you are accessing you are taking a request from the client and whatever the response coming from the third party, you want to send to your client. Then you need to go for synchronous only, because if you have the response, then only you can send the response to your client. Are you getting my point?
We can return, sir. We can return back to.
If there is a dependency, we should wait.
Correct. If there is a dependency, then we should wait. If there is no dependency, no need to wait.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in getcode 1, we are using string.class, right?
Correct.
In getcode 2 and getcode 3, we are using code.class.
Yes.
Sir, what is the basic difference, sir?
Here, I just want to show you the raw response coming from the provider. As it is, I am storing into the string variable. Okay. In the get code to method, whatever the raw response is coming, I am mapping the response into Java object. JSON data coming, that JSON data I am converting to Java object by using web client directly. Here, the raw response I am showing, here the response is mapped to Java object. That is the only difference.
So in the first method, we are not converting JSON to Java, right?
Manually, we no need to do. In the REST template also, we no need to do manually. In the web client also, you no need to do manually. That will be taken care by our Spring Boot.
Yes.
Just I want to prove that. In the web client also, JSON data will be converted to Java object automatically. That is the reason I have given second method.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
In the REST template, right, whenever we call the exchange method, it will wait up to the 60 seconds. After that, it will throw the timeout exception.
You need to increase the timeout, sir. You need to set the timeout for that.
You know, in the same like web client also giving the timeout like 30 seconds or 60. What is the default timing, sir?
Default timeout, I'm not sure, it is 100 seconds, I think so, but according to the requirement, we can increase the timeouts. Time limits we can set. Web client dot set timeout. Here methods will be available. Web client builder object. If you take direct web client, you can't set the timeout. If you take the web client builder, then you can set the timeout for that. So that after, I mean, how much time you need to wait. So after this given limit is crossed, automatically you can throw the exception for that. You can set the timeout limits for that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay, guys, able to understand what is web client, how to send a get request by using web client, what is the body to mono, what is the block method, how to send a synchronous request, how to send a asynchronous request by using subscribe method. Are you clear with this? Now, how to send a post request by using web client, guys? How to send a post request by using web client? What are the changes we need to do in order to send a post request by using web client? Guys, what are the changes we need to do in order to send a post request by using web client? How to send a
Instead of get post.
We need to send the post
body
method and we need to send the body as well.
Yeah, we need to send the body. Suppose make my trip application want to send the passenger data in the request body. So can you tell me the logic? How to send the passenger data in the request body? Can you tell me the logic? How to send passenger data in the request body by using web client? So what is the first step that we need to do to work with the web client? Web client dot create. What is the meaning of web client dot create? What do you mean by web client dot create, guys?
Creating object.
Web client class object created.
Are you creating the web client object or its implementation class object?
It's implementation
class object.
Because web client is a
interface.
Okay. Now I want to send you a post request. Then I will call you a method called dot post method. To whom you want to send the request? Dot URL. So we will specify API URL. Okay. Then I want to send the data in the body. Okay. Passenger earlier, after this one, directly we are calling retrieve method because get request na, we are not sending any data in the body. If you want to send the data in the body, then you call body method. In this body method, you need to specify body inserters dot from value, whatever the passenger object is available, you send that passenger object. Okay. Then you call dot retrieve method. Then you call body to mono. Whatever the ticket response you are getting, once you book the ticket, by sending passenger data, you are booking the ticket. You are going to get the ticket object. Then how to store the ticket object? You are going to get mono of ticket. You are getting the mono of ticket. Now, once the ticket is booked, we need to wait for the ticket. So what we need to do to wait for the ticket? Subscribe method or block method?
Block method.
To wait for the ticket, subscribe method or block method?
Block method, sir.
Block method.
Mono dot block. So when I use mono dot block, what is the response it will give me? Ticket object it will give me. Whatever the ticket you are getting, you can return that ticket object from your method. So whatever you want to do, handle the response. Handle ticket data. So this is the logic that you should write in the Make My Trip application to book a ticket. So Make My Trip I developed by using REST template, and I asked you people to change it to the web client. I don't know how many of you completed. So, but this is the logic that you need to write to send a post request. And this is the logic that you need to write to send a get request. So when you send the get request to that URL, list of tickets will come. So you can map them to ticket array.class. You can map them to ticket array.class. So this is the another logic. Get tickets method logic you can write like this. Get tickets. So this is the third party API URL that you need to specify. Webclient.create.get URL retrieve body to mono ticket array.class. Then we are returning direct body to mono object which is returning the ticket array. So these are the two methods that you need to implement in the Make My Trip. So this is used to book the ticket and this is used to get the tickets. For this you guys has taken 3 days of time. You people has taken 3 days of time and you did not complete. You need to feel shy for this. It's not a big deal. You don't have self-learning skill. That is the problem. Just 3-4 lines of code. 3 days of time you have taken. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 4 days. Not able to understand how to implement a web client. So you are completely depending on the trainer. That is the problem. Today I'm teaching, but tomorrow, after going to the company, who will teach you? Nobody. You have to learn on your own. Good. Are you able to understand what is web client and how to develop a consumer by using web client, guys? Are you able to understand what is web client? How to develop a consumer by using web client? Quickly, could you please respond?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So we are able to understand what is web client and how to develop a consumer by using web client. So we understood what is body to mono, what is block method, what is subscribe method. Good. Block method is used to send a synchronous request. Subscribe method is used to send asynchronous request. Now, can I give one task for you people? Can I give one task for you people?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
The
sir.
requirement is develop a REST API which provides stream of values as a response using Flux. Currently, we developed a REST API which is returning a single response in one shot. It can be one ticket or multiple tickets we are sending in the single shot. Now I want you people to develop a REST API which provides stream of values as a response using Flux. This is requirement 1. Then requirement 2, develop a consumer to access the above provider which gives Flux as a response. Body to mono we understood. Already our IRCTC provider available which is giving single response. So it is giving a mono response and we are able to develop a mono consumer. Now what I want you to do is analyze what is Flux and develop a REST API which will give Flux as a response, one REST API. For the same REST API, create another project which will act as a consumer. That means basically you need to develop a provider application and you need to develop consumer. Two applications you need to develop. One is a provider, another one is consumer. Provider should give stream of values as response as flux, and consumer should access the above provider which gives flux as a response, body to flux, that you need to use. I have not explained this concept. This is our next topic. Before I am going to explain, I want you people to do the analysis on this topic. Before I am going to explain, I want you people to do the analysis on this topic. Can you guys try this before coming to tomorrow's session? Can you guys try this before coming to tomorrow's session?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good. So with this, I'm done for today. Anybody having any questions for me?
Sir, in the
I will
REST
update
template,
our material with the web client example. REST API material is available. In that, I will update our web client concept. And tomorrow, I am expecting that you people will do some analysis and you will try to develop a REST API which will give flux as a response, and you will develop a consumer which will access the provider which will give flux as a response. Yeah, try to do these two projects, guys. Good. Any questions, anyone?
sir, in the REST template exchange method, we can set the timeout, sir. Like suppose if the
Not at that, yeah, REST template object you create, for that you can set the timeout. So I will explain what is timeout in the consumer development. I have not explained the timeout concept.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so try to work on this web client development. Make my trip application you need to complete with web client, and whatever the assignment I have given today, that you guys should work on. Sorry,
Sir,
sir.
will we have common classes between JRTP and?
Sir, you guys told that you can't attend at morning 7:30, na? So I started major project for them.
Okay. Actually, I'm in both classes.
Okay, sir. Now, so I actually thought of explaining this Kafka, Redis, security, Docker, Jenkins as a combined classes for 2 weeks, but 9:30 people having some timing issue. So that's why I'm not going to combine. So both classes will happen separately. For JRTP people, I have started the major project today, e-commerce application development. You got it?
Yes.
Associations, sir.
Sorry?
Associations.
Sir, I told you, whatever the pending topics are there, I remember. So
Okay, sir.
when I say today is the last session of the Spring Boot, then you can ask me if any topic is missed. Today is not the last session of Spring Boot.
Okay, sir.
You got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when I announce that today is the last date of our Spring Boot, then you can tell me if any topic is not covered.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Good, guys. Thank you.
This
Yeah,
JRTP
hello, Asaf sir.
started, sir, in the
When the
same
JRT
9:30.
new batch starts, sir?
Next JRTP batch, sir, after Dasara, sir.
Okay, sir.
Sir, before Dasara, are we going to start or like finish this
Yes.
spring
So
course?
it will not take up to Dasara also. Mostly in another 10 days, we will complete our pending topics. Dasara is the maximum max time. It may take up to Dasara. Mostly in another 10 days, we are going to finish the pending topics.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Am I audible? Questions.
Sorry, guys.
Am I audible?
Voice is not clear for me. Can you please speak a bit
Hello?
louder, or you can type in the chat box?
Hello, sir. Now I'm audible.
No, not clear.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi, sir. So what about the interview questions and the resume building session?
Sir, so once the syllabus is completed, then I will explain that, sir. Still, we are not done with the syllabus now. I will give you the interview questions also, and I will tell you how to prepare the resume also. Got
Sure,
it?
sir.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect, guys. Good. Thank you. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll meet again tomorrow. I'm hoping that you guys will develop a REST API, which will give the Flux as a response. And for the same thing, you will develop the consumer also. Let us see how many people are going to do that before coming to tomorrow. Thank you.